How's it going? Welcome to the Trades and Grades podcast. I'm your host, Noah Wright. Alongside me is Caleb Nemi. No Cameron Gonger tonight. He's going on a little vacation to Florida. And so we're without him tonight, but we're back after a little hiatus. We're excited to be back. It's been a hot minute, couple weeks. Life's been crazy, but we are back here to produce some fantasy football content for you guys right in the heart of the season. This week is upcoming a week 6, which starts the buys. Hard to believe we're already on buy season, but yeah, Caleb, how are your teams doing so far?
Yeah, teams are doing well. I think I have only one league where I am absolutely abysmal. I'm 2-3 in that league, and it's a 6-point passing touchdown league. And I somehow waited on quarterback and drafted Trey Lance, and we all know how that ended. So, other than that, feeling pretty good. So hopefully you guys are all feeling good too. Otherwise, if you're 0-6, you probably have already given up. So, or 0-5. Excuse me.
Yeah,
You might be
yeah,
0-6 after this coming week with the buys.
right. Yeah, no, that's certainly not. You want to have a good, strong start to the season because you never know what's going to happen. Come the buys, and they're probably going to hit some teams hard. So we will try to do our best to give you guys good advice on who should be picking up, what moves you need to be making, looking at potentially playoff schedules for some of these players, because that does make a difference. If you have guys in the same tiers and you're looking like, okay, who's going to have more difficult schedules down the road for my fantasy playoffs, that's something to look at. But before we go any further, guys, I just wanted to tell you guys, if you're not subscribed to our podcast, please like this video, subscribe here on YouTube. If you're listening, please leave a rating on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, whichever you're listening to, or any other platform. If you don't mind, I'd really appreciate it. As it's, we're trying to build some momentum with this podcast and produce more content as we get, through the season. So hopefully we're doing an adequate job. So appreciate it. But yeah, without further ado, let's go over the injuries for this week. The first couple weeks wasn't too bad. Now we're starting to get in the thick of it. We saw Jonathan Taylor go down a few weeks ago. Alvin Kamara has been injured a decent amount. DeAndre Swift we've been without. That's hurt, as my first 2 picks in my home redraft league went Swift Kamara. So I've had better days. That team's on the struggle bus. Had to do some maneuvering. But yeah, there's been some major injuries. So we'll kind of go through some more major ones, how that's going to affect your team, and maybe some players that you need to be picking up. So we'll start off with the Cardinals. Arizona Cardinals, James Conner, questionable ribs, was not able to practice this Wednesday in their walkthrough. Wednesday practices aren't super telling, but I doubt he'll be playing this week. I'm no doctor, but it seemed pretty negative. And Darrell Williams is doubtful. He's got a sprained knee. So now we're looking at Eno Benjamin, a guy that had the same type of deal last year where Connor Edmonds got hurt. He had a position to step up and become, a decent producing backup when he was starting. Didn't do a whole lot. Is Eno Benjamin a guy you're looking at to pick up in your leagues?
Yeah, I think he is. And especially, like we said, we started this as a Dynasty podcast. So hopefully, if you're playing Dynasty, you stashed Eno Benjamin for this exact purpose. But for redraft purposes, if he is still out there on the waiver wire, try to go snag him before Sunday.
Yeah. No, I think he's a good, decent pickup, assuming he's not already on the roster. I'm not sure how long Connor's going to be out, but if you're in need of somebody, especially with buys coming up, that could be a big issue. He's definitely worth a roster spot and perhaps a start. Falcons, Kyle Pitts, hamstring, limited in practice, but was practicing on Wednesday. I'm not sure if that's a good thing for Kyle Pitts owners. Honestly, this past week, it was like the least stressful I've had so far. Because I just knew that I wasn't going to take an automatic 0. I could at least get some points from a waiver wire pickup. Got Irv Smith, gave me like a solid 8 points. I was happy with it. Thanks, Irv. If you have Kyle Pitts right now in redraft, what are you doing with him?
I mean, you have to hold. You're not dropping him because you wasted a 3rd or 4th round pick on him. And I'll say this: it's one of these weeks. It's going to be Kyle Pitts' week. Just which week is it going to be, and are we going to have to wait until week 13? All questions that are still up in air. I have Kyle Pitts in plenty of spots, and let me just say this: even if the man is questionable, I am throwing him in the lineup because this is the other thing. Your backup tight ends that you probably have, like in a few leagues, I mean, you have like Irv Smith, Noah Fant, or someone like that you drafted. Cole Kmet. We were all hyped on Cole Kmet. Like if you have Kyle Pitts and Cole Kmet, you can't tell me that you're not gonna like just throw Kyle Pitts out there because you at some point you're just so used to taking zeros. Let's shoot for the upside here. And I think Kyle Pitts has it. It's a matter of time.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because it's like, what's the dynamic of your team, right? Do you need a floor? Are you shooting for upside? Because really, unless you have Andrews or Kelsey this year, there's Goddard's been pretty good. I guess Taysom Hill now. We'll get to that, I guess. But
Hawkinson had one good game.
Hawkinson, yeah, that's pretty much the only reason why he's somewhat relevant. But outside of Kelsey and Andrews, it's just mostly, hit or miss. So you might as well shoot for upside. That's what Kyle Pitts is in a nutshell. Looking at, and I talked about this, I tweeted this out because I was like, how is Kyle Pitts really doing that bad this year? I know he's running like almost next to no routes, but like when he's running routes, are they just not targeting him? Like, is his target share gone down? Should I be concerned about that? Redraft and dynasty wise. So a few things I found from last year to this year. So in 2021, she had, historic season. I know they played 17 games, but even if you broke it down by game, it's still a very good season for a tight end. He had a 20.3% target share. All right. This year, he's at 23.7% target share. So it's gone up. He had last year catchable target rate. So the targets that he's getting, are they accurate? Are they targets that you're expecting him to make receptions on? Last year, he ranked 11th out of tight ends in catchable target rate. Matt Ryan, fairly reliable, accurate. This year, he's ranked 36th out of all tight ends. And keep in mind, you have like tight ends aren't super abundant. So for to be 36, that's pretty bad. And then looking at routes run, last year he was 4th in the NFL amongst tight ends in routes run. This year he's been 21st. And so that was going into last week. Obviously, he didn't play last week because he was injured. But he has just been a product of really bad coaching, more or less just for him, for fantasy purposes. I won't say like all coaching, but for him it's been not good. And then quarterback play has been a lot worse than the way he's been, accustomed to in the past. Now, Drake London's been making it work a decent amount, but perhaps he's getting targets that are, he's running routes that are more for Marcus Mariota to throw them to him. I don't know. But at any rate, he's basically just getting shafted. So if you're a dynasty holder, I think it's a perfect time to acquire him. I'm not worried about Kyle Pitts. He's 21, right? He's going to turn – did he just turn 22, I think?
I think he just turned 22, yeah.
Yeah. And you have a long time before. I mean, heck, look at David Njoku. If you really worry about him turning into a guy like David Njoku, who's now 26, which is still like right when you're about to start your prime as a tight end, really from 26 to 30 is when most people, you're going to hit your prime. He's now tight end 8 this year. Njoku is, who I like this offseason, and he's had Jacoby Brissett. He hasn't even had Deshaun Watson, who's going to be tied to for the next 3 years or whatever it is. So dynasty-wise, there's a lot of time. But for redraft purposes, it's tough to say. It's you don't really know what they're going to do with him. I can't say that it's going to get any better. So I can't imagine it's worse. But yeah, I don't know. You're right. You just pretty much have to hold him.
I haven't seen any trades for Kyle Pitts that have been good for redraft, so I don't even know. His price is so low that the upside's just too high to sell low. But if you are buying low and you can somehow get a deal done where like you're trading like Robert Woods or someone that's like your RB4 or RB wide receiver 4 on your bench, packaged with your backup tight end or something to get Kyle Pitts, like I wouldn't hate that. But
yeah,
I don't know. It's just a bad landscape.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a difficult decision. moving on to the Bengals, we got T. Higgins questionable, didn't practice Wednesday with the ankle. Really hurt me this past week. I barely squeaked one out in my home dynasty league by like 3 points because I needed Daniel Carlson, my kicker. I needed 17 points out of him, and he went off. So got the W. But I got a goose egg from T. Higgins because he decided, well, I'm just not going to play. So that was nice. But yeah, that he still isn't practicing with the ankle injury. Hopefully, he starts to make some sort of progression. But I would have expected to see a bigger game out of Ja'Marr Chase with T. Higgins gone. I know T. Higgins probably taken some of those defenders off of Chase at times. It's tough, to guard both of them. But I would expect a bigger game out of Chase this past week, and they really didn't show out. A lot of people are saying that Zach Taylor is pretty bad at coaching. He's not bringing up like very good schemes for Ja'Marr Chase. So, are you worried at all this season about Ja'Marr Chase not living up to a top 5 wide receiver?
No, I mean, I think the issue has been the coverage. If you watch everything, I mean, they're putting a safety over on Ja'Marr Chase's side every single time, which is to be expected. That happens with all the top wide receivers, but especially with Ja'Marr Chase, when we're looking, the Bengals offense just hasn't been good. Joe Mixon is literally surviving on volume. T. Higgins was open a lot because of Ja'Marr Chase taking the coverage. Joe Burrow, even though he had a good game this last week, but he really hasn't been amazing for fantasy football purposes. I think I'm leaning that it's going to get better. And so I'm happy that I didn't draft a lot of Ja'Marr Chase in the first round because I didn't get the chance to. But if I drafted him in the first round, I'm not worried because I could have taken Najee. I could have taken one of these running backs like a Dalvin Cook that's just not living up to par. And so I'm happy with my Chase pick because I think it's bigger and brighter days are ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think him and Higgins are pretty close when it comes to overall wide receiver, but Chase has the upper edge, and I think that you're right. He's going to eventually have one of those games where you're like, oh, yeah, this is Ja'Marr Chase, 30-some, maybe even a 40-point game this season. You're like, okay, this is what we drafted him. And you just kind of expect him to have huge games all the time because that's what you drafted him for. And so I think right now he's just kind of – I don't even know if you could possibly buy him low in a redraft league if that's possible. Maybe people are kind of worried that he's not having as great a season as they'd hope. I mean, he's still – I don't know what he's on the year. He's not bad. I think he's inside the top 10. But it's not like you're expecting him to battle up there with Justin Jefferson and Cooper Kupp, and it's not been quite there.
So Ja'Marr Chase is averaging he's averaging 15.3 fantasy points per game PPR basis this year. So
just for context, Jakobi Meyers is averaging like 17 points. Just putting that out there. So Jakobi Meyers, go ahead and sell Ja'Marr Chase for Jakobi Meyers plus.
Yeah, smart
move. Thank us later. Yeah, yep, 100%. Sample sizes there. 3 games is plenty. So I'll take Jakobi Meyers. Yeah. Let's see here. We got we have to talk about Javonte Williams. Just mention it. That is devastating on all fronts, right? You draft him in redraft. There goes probably your star running back. You have him in dynasty. That's tough because it's the ACL and I believe was the PCL as well. And so that just, that sucks. Like I don't know if that's equal to J.K. Dobbins or if that's worse.
It's worse. It's worse.
That's
literally
worse.
To everyone here, I almost, and this is a bold statement to make, this is like Cam Akers territory for me for dynasty purposes. So all my leagues that I have Javonte in, straight, I have sent offers to every league mate. It doesn't matter if you are the top team for any 23 first or any 24 first because I'm out. I am out. You got to sell now. You have to regroup what you can because it's and maybe that's a mistake. Maybe that is a major mistake. But listening to some fantasy doctors and also listening to Ray the Man JQ, I'm selling. I'm out. I will re-roll with a healthy running back or try to hold some type of value because I don't think it's going to be that for Javonte, which is really sad.
Yeah, I think, and I saw this on Twitter, which is an interesting way to go about it. But take like J.K. Dobbins for example. Tears ACL, drops in value, kind of hits the bottom, and then is like slowly steady a little bit, going up. But once you get to that point where they're about to get back on the field, that's when their value, I think, is going to be the highest. So while I agree, maybe getting off now is a good move because you're at least recouping what you've lost. I don't know if you want to wait, but you might get more value if you wait until they're like, okay, he's coming back, he's about to play. And then if you're worried that he's not going to be the same, which should be really hard. I mean, it's going to be tough to be the same as he was before. That I think you might have more value then to sell. But either way, like I don't blame anybody for wanting to get out of this because it's going to be a process. It's week 4 is when he tore it. So it's going to be tough to come by the beginning of next season. J.K. Dobbins, I mean, he's just now getting ready. He tore that last summer. So, yeah, 2024 is, I mean, the first season he's going to be fully healthy. So just keep that in mind, I suppose.
And this is where I'm at. So 2024, first year he's healthy. So next year they're 100% going to either add or re-sign a running back like a Melvin Gordon, some type of running back like that to split the backfield. So he's already going to be in a split backfield. 2024, fully healthy. And who knows? By then, it's his last year of his rookie deal. You literally lost like 3 years worth of value with this injury. And that's why I'm trying to sell now while people still have some high hopes for Javonte to be the bell cow, to still be that RB3, RB4 in Dynasty that we had him as preseason. So if you can sell, sell.
Yep. No, I agree. They're 100% going to have to sign somebody this offseason, and then they're going to work him back. So next year's a split. That's his third year in the league. And like you said, that going into that fourth year in 2024, if he's then the top dog there, then you're definitely trying to sell him because then once you're off the rookie contract, I mean, they could re-sign him to the fifth year depending on his contract situation. Like Josh Jacobs, they declined his fifth-year option, which after this past season, or this past game, rather, they might be regretting that. I don't know. Because he went absolutely nuclear. We'll get to that in a little bit. But, yeah, we'll take it to Los Angeles. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. Mike Williams didn't practice this Wednesday because of his illness. Questionable for this week. I don't know. I mean, it is Wednesday, so unless it's really bad, I think he'd be okay. Keenan Allen was running on the side during State's practice, hamstring. Is this guy ever going to come back? I don't know. That's a good question.
When they put Keenan Allen as day-to-day on the injury report, just think a month because that's what it seems like. I don't think he plays this week.
I mean, I've had him in my redraft team. I feel like it's okay, but the wide receivers, I got Waddle, Hollywood, Keenan Allen. It's like, okay, that's a good squad right there, except for the fact that Keenan Allen never plays. So I'm kind of getting tired here because I'm 2-3. I lost by less than a point last week. Like, it sucks. Like, Kyle Pitts on my team, dud. Kamara Swift went out to injuries. It's been a start. I really need some consistency here. And Keenan Allen is not providing it. I don't know if you can still sell, like, with people thinking this is going to be Keenan Allen of normalness, or if people are discounting him because of the injury. I would think, if I was somebody looking to buy a wide receiver, I would try to buy Keenan Allen because, like, when he comes back, he's going to be good. So I wouldn't discount because of the injury. But I also, I have him, so I'm sure I'm biased. Well, how do you feel about him for the rest of the year?
I mean, yeah, when he comes back and hopefully he's healthy, I just know the hamstring thing's so hard to get over. And honestly, this is how I feel. Like, frick, I should have just waited for DeAndre Hopkins in the 7th. At this point, I mean, for real, like, you're about to get him back at the same time. Like, right. But I mean, those are the mistakes. We can't predict injury, so.
No, you can't. It's tough. Tyler Higbee, participant this Wednesday due to ankle injury. Cooper Kupp didn't practice due to a foot injury. Could just be, it's Wednesday, so it is what it is. One that's kind of interesting, Raheem Mostert did not practice today, knee injury. He's pretty much taken over the role completely, made Chase Edmonds irrelevant, almost emphatically. He's just gone off the face of the earth. And so now it's kind of like if someone's gotten upset by Chase Edmonds and they dropped him in your league, now might be the time to pick him up, because he might have a week this week where, again, if you're in the buys and you're looking for somebody and Raheem Mostert doesn't play, I can't imagine they don't go back to Edmonds. Now they can't be using Myles Gaskin. I mean, I feel like they have to go back to him.
And points per game wise, Chase Edmonds is averaging 8.3. Raheem Mostert is still averaging 9.1. I know Raheem Mostert wasn't seeing the field a lot until last week, so I'm still I'm all in on Chase Edmonds if he's on the waiver wire and Raheem Mostert's out.
Yeah, I'm sure Camden would be too, because he really liked Chase Edmonds this offseason. And just Raheem Mostert, man, I asked him about that when we were on the podcast. Like, I don't know, Raheem Mostert coming over. He knows Mike McDaniel. Are you a little worried? Nope. Which I was honestly kind of surprised that, that they went the way they did. So it is what it is. Teddy Bridgewater, Tua, both hurt. Tua's out indefinitely this week. Teddy Bridgewater, if he's back, he's going to be behind Skylar Thompson. Are you worried about Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill with Skylar Thompson at quarterback?
No, I'm not. And the reason I'm not is because they have a play caller that is used to not throwing his wide receiver the ball. And when you have a play caller like Mike McDaniel, who gets their wide receivers the ball on reverses, handoffs, and does quick little screen passes, like but to be fair, I'm actually more worried about Jalen Waddle, because I feel like Tyreek Hill easily excels in that role, where I know Jalen Waddle is also just as fast, but I feel like they don't use him in that role. So I am a little bit concerned about Jalen Waddle, but I mean, if you have Jalen Waddle, you're playing Jalen Waddle. So
Right.
I think the upside is going to be capped the next few weeks until Tua gets back. But Jalen Waddle still, even after his abysmal week last week, is still averaging 16.8 fantasy points per game. So
true. He said 2 weeks in a row about 5 points. And he's still average because he had that monster week. So I think one thing that's getting overlooked is the Jets secondary has actually been fantastic this year. Sauce Gardner has been putting a sauce on all sorts of elite wide receivers. So between that and the fact that they lost a quarterback the week before, I think it's just an anomaly that's been going on with Waddle. So we'll see this week. They've had a whole week to prepare with Skylar Thompson, because last week Bridgewater went out, and then they're facing a very good, secondary. So we'll keep our eye on that. Mac Jones, limited practice Wednesday. Damien Harris looks like he's going to be out for at least a week or a couple weeks. Ramondre Stevenson time. If he was on your waivers this week, that's a break the bank. You're like everything you have for a little piggy bank. You take the hammer, you're smashing that, and then you're picking everything up. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. He's on my waivers, and I missed him barely. Because I put down like 25 or 30% of my fab money. Camden put down like just barely more than he got him. And I'm like sick to my stomach, because I'm like, you idiot. You should just bet like half of it at least, because he's that good.
He is so good. Such a good player. And the one thing that I found interesting was, even though they took Damien Harris out, like when Ramondre got all the carries, it felt so like not like Bill Belichick, like a Bill Belichick offense, just like having a bell cow. And so I don't know if that was game plan, but you know what? We're going to just assume that he loves him some Ramondre, and that this next week it's going to happen again. So if he's out there on waivers, go pick him up. I'm actually double checking one of the leagues I'm struggling in, because I realize I need an RB2 this week. So hopefully Ramondre is sitting there on the waivers.
That would be very nice. Again, we're going to get to one more guy here at the end that's a break the bank type guy, but that Ramondre is certainly one of them. Saints, Olave. Chris Olave has gone through the 3rd of 5 stages of concussion protocol. I don't know if he'll be back this week. It's only Wednesday, but Michael Thomas didn't practice today. He's really trying hard to push my buttons because he came out and had some good weeks early. He had some good weeks, looked kind of like old Michael Thomas, and then he's like, psych, I'm just going to get hurt again. I don't know what this dude eats or like who his physician is. Someone's got to give him something better. Like, whatever you got to inject in him in his foot, I don't care what it is. Like, just get it back out there because I need him, please. Olave's been fantastic this year. Best rookie wide receiver so far. I'm not sure it's terribly close. I know Garrett Wilson's had some good weeks. Drake London's solid. But yeah, I mean, I think he's in a perfect situation too with Jameis Winston airing the ball out as much as he does, which is that I think is Olave's is his role. We'll go with the Steelers. Pat Freiermuth, he had a concussion, but he's limited Wednesday's practice. I think DeAndre Johnson, he was limited, but I wouldn't be worried about that. We'll go down. Probably one of the biggest news pieces in all of fantasy football, Seattle Seahawks. Rashad Penny out. Done for the season with a broken fibula and high ankle sprain, which is impressive, like to combine those into one. But he did. And nonetheless, now it is Kenneth Walker the 3rd time. And he is the number 2. If you're going to break the bank, piggy bank, hammer time, spend all of your money and don't ever regret it type of deal, I would imagine it would be this one.
Yes, Kenneth Walker. If he's on your waivers, all the fab money going to Kenneth Walker. But in all my leagues, he was not there. So he probably, if he was there for you, you play in an interesting league with interesting league mates. Good for you. Hopefully you got Kenneth Walker because the man's about to eat. So it'll be exciting to see. To be honest, if you own Rashad Penny, try to trade something now. Try to see if someone will wait for him because I have a feeling he's going to be nothing but a backup by the time he gets back.
Yep, that's a tough injury for him. I got offered a 4th today in a dynasty league for Rashad Penny. Like, I'd be receiving the 4th to have Rashad. And I'm just like, at that point, it's not even, like, I might as well just drop him. Like, a 4th? I'd rather take the chance of him coming back next year and having any and all production at all than a 4th rounder, personally, in a 12-man league. I don't know. Yeah, it was early.
Did the Seahawks? I don't think the Seahawks picked up his option, did they? So he's a free agent next year.
Yeah, I doubt it. I mean, I'm sure he'll probably land somewhere. Then he's a running back, and he'll be a backup or whatever. But
did they now? Oh, what did I say that he's not coming back this season? I shouldn't know. He's out. He's out for the rest of the season.
Yeah, no, he's done so.
Yeah, I don't know why. I thought he had a chance to come back later, like week 12. But yeah, no, Kenneth Walker is going to be awesome.
Yep. Nope. Kenneth is. He was in my league, and I paid. He was like 90-some% of my fab, and I got him. So I am a very happy boy now.
Yes, you are.
But then to cap it off, Jahan Dotson out, hamstring, not playing this week against the Bears, which is a shame. Also not playing is Logan Thomas, calf. So pretty much
Curtis Samuel, let's go.
I like how that's the first thing we go to instead of Terry. Like, it's not even, oh, Terry's gonna eat now. It's like, oh, Curtis Samuel locked in for 20 points.
Curtis Samuel over the middle all day, every day.
Yep. He's goated. All right, that was the injury report for the week. Now it's time to talk about a couple guys that have been balling out, specifically in week 5. And then you have your guys like Josh Allen. Okay, probably could have seen that coming. Lamar Jackson's having a great season. Jalen Hurts is having a great season. They're really like separating the good quarterbacks, like from the great quarterbacks. And there's not been a season in the last like 5 years in which there's been such a difference in the tiers. If you have one of those three guys, and Pat Mahomes is there, so really four guys, he drops from Patrick Mahomes averaging 25 points a game, who's a quarterback 4, to Kyler Murray at quarterback 5. He's averaging 20.39, so almost a 5 points per game drop from quarterback 4 to 5, which is crazy. Kirk Cousins, quarterback 11, and he's averaging 17, where Josh Allen's quarterback 1, he's averaging 30. 13 points and only 10 difference in spots. That's like almost absurd.
So what you're saying is we should not have drafted running backs. You should have drafted wide receiver, early tight end, and gotten your early quarterback, and you would have been fine this year, essentially.
Yes, that's pretty much what I'm saying. And I have seen quite a few things on Twitter that have like alluded to the fact that this has been an extremely odd year. Like the difference in the quarterbacks, like I mentioned, have been like way more than they ever have been, and the running backs have been terrible. So yeah, if you're going 0 RB this year, you win. Like, congrats, guys! Like, it's not even like robust running back sucked unless you had Saquon, which would have been a great pick. And then, like, I mean, if you went like Derrick Henry, Saquon, which you probably could have, relatively speaking, rounds 1 and 2, and you follow that by getting like, you get Dallas Goedert somewhere in the middle, and then you get a bunch of wide receivers. And like, you can pick those quarterbacks kind of in the middle. I know Jalen Hurts is like round 6 for us in my home league, which I mean, it's like my friends, so it's not like analysts, but maybe round 5. I'm not sure there's a bigger regret that I have than not picking him there. So I remember, man, he just fallen too far, but I didn't want to reach on quarterback because I was like, I just feel like quarterbacks don't matter that much. Wrong. Just fine. You got to admit when you're wrong. And
what are we learning?
Otherwise, fantasy receipts.
Fantasy receipts are going to get us. And you know what? We try to zig while everyone else zags, and sometimes when you're zigging, you just get swatted like a fly and you look dumb. And that's what happened to me this year in a few leagues. So
yeah, you're just zigging too much and you get pulled over, and then you get,
oh my goodness,
breathalyzer test.
You know, it's the 5th round, and you're like, oh man, Jalen Hurts is there, but you're like, but Allen Robinson is there too. You dropped Allen Robinson instead of Jalen Hurts, and you regret your life for the rest of the fantasy football season. That only happened in one league, and let me tell you, I am never making that mistake again. Allen Robinson, you're dead to me.
Yep. Horrible. Oh my gosh. That's just like, man, that's gross. But it happened. Like, that's that. Like, before the season, I'm like, yes. Like, we talk about wide receivers to buy if you're a contender. Robert Woods, Allen Robinson, Brandon Cooks. So Brandon Cooks has been all right, and Robert Woods had like a okay game, but yeah, tough. So yeah, quarterbacks have been a little crazy. Geno Smith, quarterback 7. He's had an unbelievable year, and by like association, when I bring up Geno Smith, I have to bring up one of my favorite players who got so much hate in the offseason, who Camden absolutely despises. I'm going to bring it up anyway.
Wide receiver 7 or 8 right now. Yep.
He was wide receiver 7 or 8, depending on like the type of league that you're in. You know, if it's PPR or standard or whatever. But in PPR, he's wide receiver 8, which is better than guys like AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb, his teammate DK, which DK is wide receiver 19 right now, which like I would have taken that before season. He's doing pretty well after having a slow start. He's been doing better. Tyler Lockett's doing better than Mike Evans. So although Evans missed the game, so you know we really should probably go points per game just in general. It's kind of like you should just do that. But I'm just saying, like, overall points. Who's giving me the most right now? Well, 8 most is Tyler Lockett. So yeah, to say that he's doing this well makes me extremely happy. Which when I said to Camden that, you know, I gotta say something on the podcast. He goes, I'm not gonna be there, but if I did, I'd just ask you how Baker Mayfield's doing right now. And which is fair. He's terrible. Man, he stinks. I'm so sad about that. I really felt like Baker could have been like the quarterback for them because he had good years, but obviously he must have just been a byproduct of either OBJ and Jarvis Landry, or that's probably about it because their coaching is not super great. But and Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, I mean that's pretty good. But yeah, I don't know. He's lost it bad. So yeah. Anyway, had to bring up Tyler Lockett. I mean that was like, whew, got my serotonin in for the
Did you
day.
see Pete Carroll say that Drew Lock is nipping at the heels of Geno Smith, which makes me laugh so much. Because I'm like, bro, Geno Smith is like everything you wanted Russell Wilson to be, and you literally gained 2 firsts by trading away your star quarterback. So like, just be praising the gods that this isn't backfiring, and you're looking like you need to be fired for this dumb move, but you're looking like they knew, you know.
Yeah, I mean, Russell Wilson averaging 15 points per game while Geno's averaging 20. Like, I know it's not all about fantasy football to them, but he's making good football throws. Like, he's making dart throws on the move to the left. Like, he's making these dimes. I'm like, does he even say that, insinuate that? That has to be either fake or he's just messing with people because that is so far off like reality. Yeah,
DK Metcalf is wide receiver 19 on the season, and I would just like for everyone to remind everyone that he was going in the late 5th round. Sometimes he even fell to the early 6th. Now, granted, you could have drafted Amon-Ra St. Brown, so we will give you that. That's a great argument to those listening who are arguing with me. But this is why we draft talent over situation all day, every day, because this is what happens.
Yep, 100%. No, I agree. I had DK. Swift went out. He went down. And I had Waddle. I had Deontay Johnson and then Keenan. And then DK hadn't had a super great start. So I regrettably informed that I traded DK Metcalf for AJ Dillon. And I now hate myself. So I needed a running back. Like everybody needs running backs. And then AJ Dillon sucks. So I regret it. Painfully regret that. But yeah, I did draft DK at the end of the 5th. And I made the right move. I just didn't allow myself to benefit from the good moveness that I made. Yeah, so tough scene. But yeah, so I mean, we're gonna go through like real quick some of the big winners of Week 5. 2 big winners for the running backs that have been terrible. Leonard Fournette, Austin Eckler. If you drafted them high, they finally produced for you. Eckler's kind of back where we thought he was going to be. He had 173 yards rushing, which is not like him really like traditionally at all. It's usually his receptions. He only had 4 receptions for 26 yards. Still had 36 fantasy points. Leonard Fournette, 36 fantasy points. He got it done receiving 11 targets, 83 yards receiving. Fantastic week. Taysom Hill, couldn't go without saying this. Taysom Hill, 34 points, 0 receiving yards. So he had 9 attempts for 112 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground, and then he had a passing touchdown. What are you doing with Taysom Hill? Are you spending a lot of fab money if he's on your waivers? Are you putting him in your tight end spot over other guys that have been traditionally, decent? Like, if you had Taysom Hill and Dalton Schultz right now, who are you starting?
So, to answer this question, I have multiple leagues with Taysom Hill and Tyler Conklin. I have been freaking bent over week after week because I always start the wrong guy. Last week, you better believe I started Tyler Conklin as Taysom Hill went off. Now, to answer your point, I think we have to start Taysom Hill this week just based off last week against Dalton Schultz, because Dalton Schultz, I put him in my lineups last week, and what did we get? A big fat goose egg. So it's hard. It's very hard for me. Taysom Hill's probably going to put up 5 fantasy points this week, and I'm going to feel like a fool. But let me tell you this, 5 is better than 0, and that is what I'm shooting for. So, yes. And maybe he'll get me 30. Maybe he'll get me 30. Who knows?
I'm shooting for more than 0 points this week, so I will be starting him for 5. Yeah, that's I don't know. I feel like no matter what you do, it's gonna be the wrong move. So you might as well start him because you have the chance of having like that crazy upside where it's like, well, if you pick the wrong guy, the guy you're picking is probably not gonna have the same upside. Almost 0% chance does he have that upside. So it's like you could have a chance of Conklin goose egging the same as you do, you know,
Taysom Hill.
Taysom Hill goose egging, but you don't have the same ceiling. So if you think like that, you should be starting him.
A win for
looking
me
at-
for this week. Sorry, I'm not meaning to cut you
go
off.
ahead.
Shout out to the third round, rookie round wide receivers finally producing. De'Ami Brown for the Washington Redskins, and then Khalil Shakir for the Buffalo Bills. Shakir had 16 fantasy points, and then De'Ami Brown had 24. Granted, both of those were on super long touchdowns for each of them, so it's not going to happen. But it's good to see them producing fantasy points.
Absolutely, yeah. And then you never know this week if you really need somebody in the pinch. De'Ami Brown, I don't think it's going to be sustainable, but like we said, no Logan Thomas, and no Jahan Dotson, who's traditionally that long ball type of guy. So
we are sending Camden out to the Washington Redskins practice to figure out if De'Ami Brown is eating or getting breakfast with Carson Wentz. That'll maybe answer our decision for our viewers.
Yep. Yeah, he said. Yep. Okay. Yeah, he said that he's actually leaving Florida, going straight to Washington on his way back with a little loop.
Smart move by Camden. Yeah, I like it.
So thank you, Camden.
Thank you.
We'll let you know next week what he finds out in camp. But while we're on the subject of running backs, let's take a look at the top 12 running backs real fast and who exactly we thought was going to be here. Now, of course, as we all thought, Jamal Williams at running back 6, that was a lock before the season. Yep. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, running back 8, almost indefinitely, which we did say that was a buy this offseason. So if you bought him, you're welcome. Forget the misses. You're welcome about that one. Dameon Pierce, running back 10. That one, I don't even know what to say about that. Craziness. Breece Hall, running back 11. And Miles Sanders, running back 12, to round out what we thought was going to happen before the season.
And those are that's standard scoring, right?
Yeah, I think it's on Fantasy Pros. That's standard scoring. Okay. So we'll go to PPR for all our regular folks. Dameon Pierce is still running back 10.
Yeah.
Jamal Williams slides to running back 11, but everything else is
same. Yeah,
pretty close to the same. So I guess my question is, looking at these running backs that should not be up here, but are up here, what are you doing with a Dameon Pierce, Clyde Edwards-Helaire? I think Breece Hall is a stud, so I'm not going to clump him with them. Jamal Williams, he's just filling Swift's spot, so just imagine what Swift's going to do when he's back. Miles Sanders. We'll go CH, Dameon Pierce, Miles Sanders. Or any of those 3 guys you want to keep because you think they're going to keep going, or are they going to fade?
We're keeping Miles Sanders for sure. The offense is just too efficient not to keep Miles Sanders. Dameon Pierce, you need to sell. So right now, if I have Dameon Pierce, and in a redraft league, this is redraft, I am looking to flip Dameon Pierce for Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon. Let me see another player. To be completely honest, the DeAndre Swift owner might be just fed up with DeAndre Swift. You might be able to get DeAndre Swift for Dameon Pierce. And this is bold because I think he's absolutely atrocious. But I think Najee Harris, even though his efficiency has been crap, everyone's talking about Jaylen Warren being a lot more efficient. Like Najee Harris, they spent a first-round pick on the guy. He's going to be on the field. I would trade Dameon Pierce for Najee Harris. If Dameon Pierce was my RB2, if he's my RB1, I don't know.
That is tough. That's tough.
Bold takes,
because it's all about your usage. It's crazy we're even saying this because Najee was almost a first rounder. Some leagues he was a first rounder. Dameon Pierce much farther down. But I think I don't want to go with hype too much. But I also want to be cognizant of the fact that they're using him in the way that they're using him. And Dameon Pierce had the most broken tackles out of any running back in the NFL last week. Najee Harris, I think he's been playing through an injury. He's just been wildly inefficient. Their offensive line's crap. He's not getting the same targets as he was last year. That's why he was good last year, is because he had the most targets and receptions for running back in the NFL. and now he doesn't have that. And it's notable, which I wish I could find this off the top of my head, but there was a thread on Twitter. This is a couple months ago about, I don't know if I bookmarked it, about how having a rookie quarterback is like, there's a correlation between that and running backs being worse, basically. So if you're running back and your situation is now you have a rookie quarterback, you're gonna take a dock basically in production in fantasy points. It's just like that is a very correlated thing, evidently, which I hadn't known before in the offseason. So that's one thing to mention. Like, maybe not all of his fault, but he is in not the greatest situation and playing through an injury.
The other thing I would like to add, Dameon Pierce is on a bye, but his next 3 games playing Vegas, Tennessee, and Philadelphia, 3 pretty good defenses. So like I said, Dameon Pierce, everything he has, the hype has been real. I do not see it I know that his workload has been great. His efficiency's been great. His broken tackle rate's been great. I'm just pumping the brakes on my expectations.
Okay, fair enough. We'll hit some wide receivers up real quick before we finish. So, I mean, you have your traditional wide receivers that are up there: Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, top 5 in points per game. Shocker to there. But then you have some guys that you weren't seeing, like before the season started. Ross St. Brown, 6 points per game. Hollywood Brown, 7. Some people might have said that, but that would have, really not. I'd say he's going like the 4th round. I think is where maybe the 3rd round or so. It's probably too high though. I'd say 4th or 5th.
4th or 5th.
Yeah, and like I said, Jacoby Myers, 17.6, small sample size, but he's getting an insane target share there in New England. And we already touched on Tyler Lockett. Do you think, I guess one that we kind of touched on a little bit earlier, Curtis Samuel, what's a guy, are you riding the hype with Curtis Samuel's production so far, or is it some guy you're looking to sell?
Yeah, totally sell. But the problem is you're probably not going to be able to get guys that I think have higher upsides. Like if I had Curtis Samuel, I'd be looking like down the list. Like I would prefer Mike Evans over Curtis Samuel. I'd prefer DK Metcalf. I'd prefer CeeDee Lamb. I'd prefer T. Higgins. I'd prefer Drake London. This is a bold take. I would think I even prefer Deontay Johnson. I know he's all the way down at wide receiver 32, but he's still getting like top 5 wide receiver target share. And he still has, granted, Kenny Pickett is going to figure out the NFL game sooner rather than later. They're going to make sure they're going to have like Deontay Johnson lives on, he played with Big Ben who couldn't throw the ball, who they said hike and they just threw it like 2 yards down the field to Deontay. They'll do the exact same thing with Kenny Pickett. So I'm not worried about Deontay at all, but those would be guys that if I had Curtis Samuel and I could somehow try to go flip him for Deontay, I would do it, especially because Curtis Samuel was probably either a waiver wire pickup or you're like wide receiver 4 or 5.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree. Here's one that would be interesting since we talked about this episode. Who would you rather have, Curtis Samuel or Keenan Allen?
Ooh, I'd probably lean Curtis Samuel just because I know at this point that Keenan Allen, he's a 30-year-old wide receiver coming off a hamstring injury. It's really easy to re-aggravate those. Granted, Mike Evans deals with them every week, so I shouldn't say that it's impossible for it to come back or to like be able to play with it. But I'm leaning Curtis Samuel there.
Okay. Curtis Samuel or Chris Godwin?
Chris Godwin for sure.
Yeah. He's been down there in points per game. I was just looking through to see if I can find some guys who haven't performed. All right. DJ Moore. What are we doing with him? He's had an abysmal year. He's got Baker as his quarterback. Even though Baker's hurt, so now it's PJ Walker. Is he droppable in redraft fantasy football? What is he worth a spot? What are your thoughts?
I think he's definitely droppable. I think if you could maybe ideally, like, let's say you have one of these top running backs, like we said, like a Dameon Pierce, and you're able to you want to like upgrade, let's say to like Dalvin Cook, and the Dalvin Cook owner's like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then even though DJ Moore sucks, You can just throw him into the package to get a better. Like I think that's what DJ Moore is. He's like a filler player with the potential for upside because he's getting his target share hasn't been great. His quarterback play hasn't been great, but we've seen every year 160 targets. So even if this year it's a little bit lower, like 140, 130, like I don't know. Eventually he's got to catch something that's thrown his way, right?
You would think so. And he was the only wide receiver to have what it was like 1,000 yards in three. No, it was like 1,100 because Mike Evans has had 1,000 every single year. So it was like 1,100 and some. Well, I can't remember the exact stat, but he's had this stat in which he's had like a large amount of receiving yards every year, and the only wide receiver to do it three consecutive years.
I will say, so his target share, he had 6, 11, and 8. So it hasn't been bad. It hasn't been as bad as people are making it seem. Just the targets suck.
Yep. That's I kind of feel bad for him, but he did sign an extension contract, whatever, with them for another couple of years for a decent amount of money. So, it's kind of on him at this point.
He's a millionaire. So what can we say? He's living his best life.
He's making just a few more million than I'm making. So just a few. Trying to see if there's any more we want to go over before we head out. Okay. Just one more. I want to hear your thoughts on Gabe Davis. What are you doing if you're a Gabe Davis owner? Question.
I'm doing what I should have done from the beginning. Sell. So what would you be looking to sell Gabe Davis for? Let me see. Some people are like really high on Gabe Davis. If I can get Drake London, Garrett Wilson, T. Higgins, Devontae Smith, Mike Evans, those would be some guys I'm targeting. Because I think Gabe Davis, as we can see, he has super big boom potential. The problem is he has a very low floor because of all the options in the Buffalo Bills offense. Now, granted, some people are going to say, well, Caleb, Gabe Davis, he's going to get those long targets because the offense is so efficient and he's always open because Stephon Diggs is getting double coverage. Like I hear you on all of those points. I don't trust it. I don't trust it. And maybe he will make me eat my words because yes, we should have been drafting Gabe Davis ahead of Keenan Allen. I agree. We missed on some wide receivers in the 3rd and 4th round. Or you should have been drafting Gabe Davis ahead of Allen Robinson. I know I wasn't doing that. I should have been doing that. But at this point, the hype still is high, and I would prefer some other safer options around him that I think have the same, like similar ceiling, but a safer floor.
Yep. Higher floor, similar ceilings. I think he's one of the ultimate boomer bust guys with Josh Allen because he's got that deep ball threat ability. But if he's not hitting, then it's like, well, it's going to be a pretty average game. I would want him. If he's on my redraft team, he's flex pretty much permanently. Like I better have 2 better wide receiver options personally. Like I'm making a change. If you can add him plus another player to get to a higher tier of wide receiver and somebody like Gabe Davis, and you can move up and get, someone that's, in your opinion, a better talent. Like I know we talked about Chris Godwin here towards the bottom points per game. You can try and trade him straight up. I'm doing that personally. But I don't think you really almost have to need to add much to that Gabe Davis side to get someone like Chris Godwin. But I would be looking to package that and see if you can get somebody better, at least in all this pretty much talk is about redraft anyways. But I'm trying to see if there's anybody that would make a whole lot of sense other than like a Chris Godwin. I don't know. Sutton is kind of in the same. I mean, he's like the most underrated good wide receiver there is. Like he's like tied to Russell Wilson, which we thought was good, but now it kind of sucks. But he's also playing well. So yeah, I don't know. But I think it's fine if you have Gabe Davis, but just know he's gonna be like it's kind of like Tyler Lockett to the extent, like boomer bust. So we'll see. Any other things before we wrap this up?
Yeah, final thoughts for the group. Travis Etienne has officially the last 2 weeks outsnapped and outrushed James Robinson. So for us, Travis Etienne truthers, we are here, baby. We have made it. Thank you for the patience. Our time is coming.
We're still here.
We're still here.
thought he was done. Nope. If you're in Dynasty, hopefully he didn't sell low because he's slowly getting there. Even though I don't know if he's gonna be what I was hoping he would be, but he's definitely getting there. I just think sometimes it's a little bit of a spaz, more than a spaz than I thought, and he's making some errors, but he'll learn. But anyway, yeah. Thank you guys for listening. If you listened this far, probably just Jordan, and even maybe not Jordan, but Jordan made this far. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you for listening. I'm glad I'm back in the studio talking fantasy football. Appreciate you guys, listening. Like I said, if you haven't liked, subscribe to this, rate this, however you want to go about it. But we really appreciate you guys. We'll see you next week.